Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College and Career Pathways, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 p.m. we provide you with information on various colleges and universities, financial aid resources, technical schools, training programs, skilled trade professions, employment opportunities, and career readiness skills, all designed to help you make the best career decisions possible. I'm Tony Curtin, your host, and today we are with the Painters Union Apprenticeship Program. Did I say that correctly, Ryan?
Plumbers.
Plumbers, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm sure you have a lot of them.
And ironically, as a matter of fact, Friday is the Painters Union, so there we have it.
Just getting ready early.
Okay, so thank you for joining us, Ryan. We really appreciate your time, and you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thank you. I'm Ryan Lyle. I'm the director of the Plumbing Training Center. We're associated with MCA Detroit and Local 98. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of plumbing briefly, and then a little bit about our apprenticeship program and what you could expect to get out of it. It's treated me pretty well over the years, and I think it's a pretty rewarding career and trade when you get into it. So hopefully everybody can see that. All right, so it is the Plumbing Industry Training Center. And the plumber protects the health of the nation. All right. We protect the health of the nation by protecting the potable water supply. The trade of the plumber actually began in ancient Rome. It is derived from plumbum, which in Latin means lead, and a plumber was actually defined as a worker of lead. All the great civilizations that came before us had some sort of plumbing, some way to bring fresh water into their city and get rid of waste. From Greece to early China, Rome created many innovations in plumbing with aqueducts and sewers. They had what they called a great sewer. It worked for 17 centuries, as late as the 1840s. Some of it is still used today. You can still see the actual spot where it dumped into the river in modern day Rome. They also were masters at bringing fresh water in to wherever they went. The most impressive of their things that are left is Point du Gard. It is in southern France. The engineering that would have went into this aqueduct must have been amazing. The Romans were the first ones that actually soldered pipe together. They would lay out a 4-finger or a 2-finger piece of lead. That's how wide it was. They would fasten it around a wooden dowel. And then since lead was very flexible as far as metal goes, it was easy to shape and form. And they found that if they heated up tin with the lead, they could end up making a solder joint and actually put water through the piping. There are plenty of women plumbers. We actually have 5 of them in our program. One of the first licensed master plumber is Adrienne Bennett. She runs a shop for our local. She is the owner. It is also, she is a Black female and has been doing this for roughly 25 or 30 years, and she did come through our program. We currently have 5 in our program to answer the chat out there. The large concentrations of populations can't exist without plumbing. We provide potable water and that is water that is suitable for human consumption. We also put the piping in place that removes wastewater to some sort of point of treatment or disposal. Much of the time, especially in Detroit, there is a big wastewater plant down on Jefferson. There are many other pumping stations that get it to there. And then once the water gets there, they treat it so it's safe to return to the environment, and then they put it back to the environment. For the longest time, people just discarded of it. We also protect the health of the nation by installing and maintaining the piping systems that convey that potable water and the sewage and the gas. Most of the part of what our local does is inside the building. Generally, if you go into a building and you see that there's not a lot wrong with the plumbing system and it works well and there's no odors to it, most of the time that means we've done a pretty good job. But that proper plumbing practice is a major factor in life expectancy. There was a time in the early 1900s, before a lot of people had indoor plumbing, where the health rate was very low. Life expectancy was not long. And as people began to get better potable water, that goes up. So a little bit about our program. We have our own training center where you come to learn about the trade once every 2 weeks. So we get about 10% of the time, and then you spend the other 90% of the time working in the field. Generally, we do 2 classes a year. Right now, we do one in spring and one in fall. Our application process is currently open for the one that would start in fall. When you first come in, we do a 5-week boot camp. We prepare apprentices to go to the field. Sometimes they will have been a pre-apprentice. Sometimes they have no experience at all. So our boot camp blends some classroom instruction, hands-on projects that would hopefully gear somebody to go out to the field. The beginning classes include a construction safety class. It's a 40-hour portion of the program where we get OSHA 30 through it. We do a use and care of tools, basic rigging, and begin welding classes. Our program is 5 years long. During the boot camp, we do administrative paperwork. We do a labor and management day. We get signed up for our Michigan Plumbing Apprentice license, which according to the state, you have to have 3 years and 6,000 hours of work experience in order to qualify for your journeyman license. And we get enrolled in Washtenaw Community College during that time. We do diversity training, financial literacy, fire stop training, powder actuated tool training. We actually get certifications from Hilti to do those. And then we learn about different pipe materials and joining methods that they will probably be using when they first get into the field. We also get a certification in lift training. Heights is part of our job for the most part. I think it's fun. The older I get, the less I think so. There's also ditches that we work in. We dig holes. We do a little bit of everything from underground all the way to the roof. Worked on towers that are 150 feet tall. It's fun stuff. So this is some of the stuff that we do during the boot camp. Over on the left, you see some snapping of cast iron. There's several different types of cast iron snappers. That red-handled pair happens to be a pair of scissor snappers right here. A little bit of pipe threading going on in this middle picture. And a little bit of torch cutting going on over here. And these are some of the ways that we would join pipe. And this is cast iron over here. We generally do that with no hub bands. That used to be done primarily with pouring a lead joint. And then we get threaded pipe, which you would see pretty much everywhere. That's how we do a lot of gas piping. And the larger bore piping, sometimes we weld together, and we generally torch cut it and then weld it together for that. So during the first 3 years of our program, you'd come to us once every 2 weeks at the training center. The other 9 days, or if you're working overtime, would be spent in the field. You get 8 hours reimbursed by our contractors for the school day, where we do technical classes during the day. Some of those are class, some of those are shop. 4 hours non-reimbursed at night for the first 3 years of welding and shop class. So for year one, we cover trade-related math. We call it trade-related math because we don't want to scare people with trigonometry and words like that. Some algebra. We try to make it trade-related so it's useful. We do pipes, fittings, and valves, so you know what valve goes with what pipe and what fitting to do what with. We do soldering and brazing. That's a lot of our work. It's nice. You get to play with the torch and get some metal pretty hot. We also do a drawing program that involves actually taking and drawing isometric prints. And we recently got some CAD computers, so we also try to get apprentices to learn the computer-aided drafting part of it, because that can lead to pretty good careers. And of course, the welding and shop class at night in year one. Same with year two with the welding. And the day program for year two, generally there's a little bit of drawing and plan reading to finish up and a little bit of trade-related math to finish up. And then we get into trade-related science, water supply and distribution, and Comet 1 training. In year three, we move on to drainage. We learn about pumps, how to fix them, what their parts are. We learn about fixtures and how to install those. We do a little bit with service. It's not a full service program, but we're working that into it. And then that end of welding in year three. So in year four of our program, it's once every 2 weeks during the day, reimbursed, but there's no night school. So that part's nice. We do a lot of test prep for the state code test. It's a pretty in-depth test. And then we get into our certification classes, the first of which is a cross-connection tester. So we can make sure that backflow preventers work correctly. Backflow preventers help to prevent backflow of contaminated water into the potable water system. Then we work on fuel gas systems. Fuel gas would be the natural gas for the furnace or the boiler, or possibly propane if you're near some people out by me. And then in the 5th year, currently it's a night program where you come once every week for 4 hours. And we continue certifications in that 5th year. We do a medical gas installer certification. So anytime you go to a hospital, the oxygen and the nitrous oxide, the nitrogen, the medical air, the surgical vacuum, all the piping in there is generally installed by us. We do a forming supervision certification. That's where you take a extra class on how to hopefully properly run work. We do a tube bending class. We do a cross connection repair. That is so you can actually fix the backflow preventers that we tested previously. And then we have an exam that's called the UA Star exam, is the last thing that we do before we turn out. So you get your Michigan Journey plumber license, your tester certification, med gas installer, that NITC plumbing UA Star, and a community Washtenaw Community College associate degree are the 5 things that are required to turn out from our program. Then we offer some journeyman upgrade classes once you have turned out from the program or have come in by a different way, because there are other ways to get into the trade besides just coming into the apprenticeship. So we offer a lot of the same classes that we offered through the apprenticeship, because a lot of journeymen are looking to upgrade their pay. So it's not unheard of where somebody works for a non-union contractor in the trade of plumbing for a while and then comes into the union in a different way besides the apprenticeship. These are some other classes that we offer. We have some industrial rigging classes because we lift some pretty heavy things. A little bit more welding. We could get specialized in some other things besides just the basic stick welding that we do. There are many processes to welding. We do signal person, that kind of goes with the industrial rigging. Sometimes we work on steam systems, so we do steam fundamentals and hydronics. Anytime there's a plumbing code or a medical gas update, we have to offer those classes. These are the classes that we're looking to add in the near future. These all go with computer aided design, Revit, BIM 360. A lot of these are actual 360, really. They look like they're 3D. It looks like you're actually walking around before you've made the product. It's really nice. Everybody is looking at going green. So we're going to offer a green fundamentals class, plumbing green, and mechanical green. A lot of people are worried about infectious diseases nowadays. And in order to assure people that their water is safe to drink, we're going to offer, we call it ICRA, it's the Infectious Disease Control Risk Assessment. And there's a water quality class that goes with that. And those are actually certifications that would benefit. Looking at adding a plumbing service program. Recently, we got some new Chromebooks for doing classwork. Most of our tests are online anymore. Very rarely do we run into a paper test for any of our certifications. We just got new computers for our CAD. We just did a pretty big upgrade to our welding shop. We have a new downdraft table here, so we can torch cut on top of it. It literally just got done, so these pictures are about 15, 30 days old. We have some torch cutting stations over here, or soldering and brazing stations over here. So we have jigs that go up and sit up here, and we put our coupon in there and either solder or braze joints there. These are our welding booths. through here. This is the new part of the ventilation system. Each booth gets its own ventilation. Welding fumes can be pretty bad for you, so we try to eliminate that as much as possible, but it is a very cool part of the trade. We added 3 on a different side of the shop. We also isolated it from the rest of the shop, so nothing escapes into there, and sound deadens it for the rest of it. The instructor got a new office back there. I just happened to like in construction pictures. This is actually all finished up now. And parking lots, like many others you see, have worn through time. We're looking at adding a sand pit so we can actually do some indoor plumbing where we do underground, and a mezzanine so we can do different facets of fixtures and whatnot. So this is where we get into what it takes to get into the trade as an apprentice. We are actually located in Troy, Michigan. So this application process for right now is open it was opened April 1st. It'll close July 31st, and then we'll open it back up at a later date. I believe September 1st through December 31st for our spring class. So I put here, must be at least 17 at the time of application. On our application, it actually says 18. You would have to be 18 to actually start the trade. Okay. Or not the trade, but our apprenticeship program, and start working for our signatory contractors. Must have a valid Michigan driver license because we drive quite a bit, and be a Michigan resident. Have to have an official high school diploma, high school transcript with it, or a GED. And then we have work keys test that you have to take in order to get in for the applied math. It's a 6 minimum score. And then graphic literacy and workplace documents, you have a minimum score of 5. And we added this Wisen test to mechanical aptitude that you have to get in the 85th percentile or better on. I'm trying to work them to lowering this to a 5 and this to the 80th percentile. I think there's very little difference between those couple scores. But you have to upload the results of those at the time of the application, and the application can be found on our website. These are the websites for our local and MCA Detroit. We'll take a look at those here in a minute. So this is our website right here, plumbers98tc.org. That's where you can actually find the application. And we're going to go take a look at that right now. So this is our website. It'll tell you a little bit about the JATC and the MCA, a little bit more about us. This apply online right here is how you apply, and it'll actually take you to a slightly different page. And this is where all that good stuff is located. Currently, you can schedule a test session for the work keys and or the Wisen test of mechanical aptitude at MTech Center, which is in Macomb, by contacting Jackie Diamond. And if you live on the west side or are closer to Schoolcraft, they will start offering some test sessions in June. So this is the locals website. And you can get to any of these websites through there. This just kind of has stuff for us as union members. This is where our meetings are located and whatnot. Pings are pretty big throughout the United Association. That's the parent company that we belong to, or the parent union that we belong to. And this is the MCA Detroit website. And I see the apprentice pay over there in the chat. So if you ever wanted to go on here, this is where you would be able to find our pay rates. Under here in labor information. So under plumber wage update, we'll start with an apprentice. So first year apprentice, currently we have 2 academic periods per year. So the first year apprentice gets $17.75 on the check. $16.45 of that is straight time rate. Vacation holiday is added into that. We don't typically get, as you say, vacation time. What we do is we get a vacation and holiday fund. We get holidays off, but if you need to take a vacation, you go ahead and schedule to take a vacation. So then we have a fringe package that includes insurance and a health reimbursement account. We have gone away from a traditional pension and started a cash balance. And we do believe in training, so there is quite a bit that goes to training. So the total package is $27.88. You see $17.75 of that on the check. And then in the second year, that rate bumps up to $19.50, a little bit more on fringes for a total of $31.60. And this is essentially the minimum that they have to pay you. If they like you enough, they can always pay you more. In third year, that bumps up to $21 an hour and $33.15 on the total package. By the time you get to the fourth year, it's $23.50 on the check, total package of $35.70. Fifth year, you get $26, $38.85. So, part of being an apprentice is to prove that you are worth the big dollars and you can do the job. So if you go through the apprenticeship and you do everything that you're supposed to do, we get what's called unrestricted rate, which would be this BTJ journey person right here. If you don't do everything you're supposed to do, or you always have the possibility of going to the unrestricted rate in the future, but we have another lower rate for possibly not turning out all the way. But if you do everything you're supposed to do, you get this unrestricted rate, which is currently $41.12 on the check, total package of $76.02. So in the end, it works out to be pretty decent money. So at this point, that's about all I've got to show you. So that should be hopefully everything about us as an apprenticeship program, and hope to see some of your applications and possibly getting in here.
Ryan, I have a couple of questions. So
Yeah.
you have an open enrollment twice a year, and that's where people, students, adults can come in and fill out an application to become a part of the Plumbers Apprenticeship Program, correct?
So our application is all online. So you don't actually have to come to us at all, but you do have to do those 4 tests and have results within the past few years and do the application online.
Now, for those tests that you're talking about, the work keys and the other assessment tests. Is this something that can be taken online, or do they have to go to a special location to do
They
that?
do have to go to a proctored location.
Okay,
As long as it's a proctored location, it's pretty irrelevant where it's at, but we have worked it out with the MTech Center at Macomb
okay,
and Schoolcraft Community College, where
okay,
they charge the same thing for the tests. I believe it's $100 if you want to take all four. And then, but let's say if you miss one of them, that you can only, you only have to like retake that part. You don't have to retake all four, you know.
okay. Just the section that you missed.
Yep. And then I forget what the exact charge is for that, but it's less than taking all four.
Okay, so now say that the person has went online and filled the application out and taken all of the exams and have received satisfactory. What is then the next step? Do you hire in that person, or how does
Nope.
that?
So after that, we have, we notify all the candidates. So like right now, and that's why we have a deadline for when we stop accepting applications, like July 31st is the cutoff for this next class. So at some point, we go through them, and the ones that have qualified for interview
Mhm.
by passing everything and uploading everything, we will bring them all in for an interview. And then at that point, depending on the numbers that our contractors see that they need, it may very well be 14, it could be 28. One year they took 60. It's all based on their projection of numbers and what they need.
If you're not selected in that round, can you wait for another round for selection, or should you go and do something else and try again at the next
So
enrollment?
you would have to reapply
Okay,
in like start a new application.
okay,
But there are other ways to go about it. Like, we're actually probably going to organize for people here pretty soon,
mhm,
where they have been working for a non-union contractor and they come
mhm,
in that way,
mhm,
you know.
mhm.
So any experience that you can get doing this trade before coming in is always great.
Okay,
Sometimes they could work in the field for a non-union contractor for 3 years. I would just say make sure that you get affidavits so you can document your time
uh,
working underneath a master plumber, because that's part of the requirement for the state is you have to have 2,000 hours a year, 6,000, so no less than 6,000 hours or 3 years of time in as a registered apprentice plumber
mhm.
working under a master plumber in order to qualify to take the state of Michigan journeyman test.
Okay. And so if you get selected from the interview process, you are then paired with a master plumber to work with. Is that correct?
So our signatory contractors have a master plumber that works for them. And
Mhm.
most of the time, they would just be working with a journeyman or many journeyman persons, whichever.
Okay.
And uh, that is how they do their time.
Okay. So not necessarily a master plumber, but certainly a licensed journeyman.
And a master that works at the shop that will sign the affidavit saying,
Okay.
yes, this
Overseeing.
person was doing plumbing under my purview.
Okay. 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 Well, good deal. It sounds like an excellent opportunity. I
It
tell
really is. It's
uh,
hard work, but it is a great opportunity.
um, I tell our students, because we grew up in an era where our parents were, go to college, go to college.
I was in that boat too. I
You
started
know,
there, and the amount I made while I was going through the trade, and so at the beginning we signed a promissory note saying, well, our training is worth X amount of dollars.
mhm,
Currently, it's $75,000.
mhm,
So that's what our training is valued at per apprentice. So as an apprentice, you sign a promissory note saying, yes, I agree to that, but we pay it back with in-kind payments.
Mhm.
So you do 5 years of apprenticeship, and then as you work each year as a journeyman, until you hit that 5 years as a journeyman, then you don't owe anything, and you can go do whatever you want.
Mhm. Mhm.
So 20% comes off per year served as a journeyman. I mean, we'll always take the cash, but that's not necessarily, you don't have to pay it like that. I've yet to have anybody say, hey, I'll just pay you for the training.
I tell our students, that we, especially since the pandemic has happened, a lot of opportunities have opened up that were not there prior. And you don't necessarily have to be married to a career, deaf do you part. You can invest, as you say, the 5 years of the apprenticeship, and then another few years after that to reimburse the educational expense, and then you're free to do
Yeah.
and pursue whatever you want.
Yep. And we've had people that they either end up a foreman on the job, or a general foreman, or in the office drawing, could own their own shop.
Yes.
I've seen instructor, director. If you had told me I was going to be the director when I came through the apprenticeship, I would have said no way. Right. But as you come through this trade, there are many doors that open up.
Good deal. Good deal. Excellent opportunity. I always tell every skilled trade professional that I meet that if I had only known,
Right.
I would have took a different route
I
career-wise.
am glad I got in, and very thankful for the opportunities I've had doing this.
Absolutely. Because college and student loans are,
It's
I
tough.
just I just paid my student loan off last summer.
Congratulations.
I'm
But
free.
man, is that a long time,
I'm free,
right?
and that's the point that I share with our students. I'm like, there are so many other creative ways for you to reach your goal than just doing the typical going to college and taking out student loans to get an education. So I'm so very happy that we have professions like yours that are offering and opening up for our young people to get involved in.
We are certainly trying to. We actually did a job fair yesterday for around Central High School. There was quite a few actual kids, like middle school and high school kids, that came through and got to check out the trades. The operators did a fantastic job. They had actual mini excavators out there for them to run and stuff. It was
Oh,
pretty cool.
that is so cool in the gang. Wow. Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. We appreciate your time and all the information that you provided us with. Again, valuable information, and it gives our young students options, to be creative with their futures.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for listening. And I hope
Sure.
everybody out there finds a very rewarding career and trade.
Sure. And thank you guys for joining. And we'd like to have you back sometime in the future, Ryan. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Tony.
Have a great day.
All right. You too.
Bye.
Bye.